The town I came from, it was high school football was huge. It was like if you were a high school football star, you peaked early in life. No matter what you did, you were never gonna live up to the glory days of junior and senior year. So I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that you know situation. But it was such a you'd have a town where like they were struggling to pay for street repairs and struggling to upgrade the parks and keep the parks clean, but yet you'd have like you know a 500,000 seat stadium football stadium at the high school, where it looked like a small Division I college football stadium. You know what I mean? It's like, where are your priorities? But it was diehard. I mean, if anything, it showed me that people's priorities aren't based on logic and reason. It's has a lot to do with emotion and culture and ritual. A lot of people, they are grow up in this system that is one way, and it's just hard to change, I guess. So for me, I was able to break out of that pretty easy, once I went into the military. And I know that's where you were going next, but the military was an interesting 4 years of my life. I went into the military. I dropped out of college. I was like 5 years into my college stint, and I was probably still 2 more years away from graduating. So I ended up realizing, like, just cut the cord now. So I left college. I went into the military, and the military was interesting, to say the least. I was an engineer, a combat engineer, and I joined the airborne shortly after I got out of basic training. I went into airborne. So the first time I ever flew in my entire life was to basic training. And then the second time I flew, I actually jumped out of the plane in my airborne training. So there's a pretty big, swing of the pendulum. But it was interesting because, the military is like one of those places where I think now, during times where it's like, man, if we can structure our operations in certain places, like military chain of command, you can really be more efficient. There's things I learned from the military just in terms of how to operate efficiently. Because if there's one thing that the military does well, they have a very efficient operating system. And they have to, right? Because there's, it's a unit of hundreds of thousands of people, all working through these tiers of command, and it's just really an organized structure. I wouldn't do it as rigid, in the real world or in the business world, as rigid and discipline focused, but in terms of the chain of command structure and the way communications are relayed, I think is a very efficient system that we try to implement now, at a much smaller scale in our business.